husband and I came up with a little experiment. Our son is having a hard time trying to figure out what he wants to do now that he's graduated. So we came up with a plan to get 4 items and stick them in his bedroom. The plan was to see which of the 4 items he would pick, and that would tell us what he wants to do with the rest of his life. So the next time he left the house, we put our plan in motion. Our son told us he was going over to a friend's house to play some video games. So my husband and I grabbed the 4 items, we went up into his bedroom and laid out the items on his dresser. So the first item we put on his dresser was a Bible. If he picks the Bible, he's probably going to be like a pastor or a youth leader or something like that. Second thing we put down was a $100 bill. If he picks up the $100 bill first, that means he wants to be like a businessman, and that would be great. The next thing we sat down was a shot of Jack Daniels. Now, if he chooses that, that means he's probably going to turn into like a bum and be like an alcoholic or something like that. The last thing we sat down was a Playboy magazine. If he chooses that, that means he's just going to turn into like a womanizer and he's going to spend his whole life chasing women, and we don't want that. Then we went back downstairs and waited for our son to come home. Well, a couple hours later, we seen our son pull into the driveway. So my husband and I ran up to his bedroom and hid in the closet. Well, we heard our son coming up the stairs, and we were really anxious to see what he was going to pick. We were peeking through the blinds in his closet so we could watch and see what he was doing. Well, we were watching our son, and he walked over to the dresser. He started scratching his head. The first thing our son did was pick up the Bible. And my husband and I looked at each other and smiled. But then he picked up the $100 bill and stuck it in his pocket. My husband and I were looking at each other really confused. Well, then he picked up the shot glass, threw it back, and slammed it on the dresser. And then he picked up the magazine and started flipping through all the pages. And he tucked it under his arm and went into the bathroom. And I looked at my husband and he said, "Oh my gosh, it's worse than I thought." My husband said, "What? What is it?" And I said, "He wants to be a politician."